Hey, I want to organize an event to celebrate Earth Day. Do you want to help?
Earth Day? Earth Day is just for a bunch of crazy environmentalist hippies to protest and squawk about the environment.
No. Earth Day is meaningful. Haven't you heard of global warming? Rising sea levels? Our planet is in danger.
Oh no, you're one of those people.
What do you mean, those people?
Those who think climate change is real.
That's because it is.
No offense, but I personally think that all this climate change stuff is all just hype. Hype created by a few people in lab coats who think we are all going to melt and die one day because the Earth is slightly warmer.
Slightly warmer is a big difference. We've had thousands of years of stable temperatures and then bam! A near vertical increase in temperature over the last couple hundreds of years, right after the Industrial Revolution.
The thing is, how do we know that the temperatures have been recorded such that the results are correct? How do we measure the average temperature of the entire Earth? It's not like thermometers go on trees or anything. Or still, there weren't even thermometers before the Industrial Revolution. There's too many uncertainties for anyone to make a judgment that's reliable enough.
That's not entirely true. We have many modern ways of gathering data. In this case, we can even analyze tree ring patterns or chemical composition of shells to determine temperatures in the past and identify types of plants and soil deposits. I could go on and on. When so many different experiments are repeated and they all say the same thing, the results become more and more conclusive.
Fine, say I believe you, but I have a problem with the whole burning fossil fuels is destroying the planet thing. Around the time when the Industrial Revolution took place, it's established that a rise in global temperatures follows shortly. But how do we know that the Industrial Revolution actually caused it? Correlation does not simply imply causation. Massive climate change, including increases in greenhouse gases and global warming, has occurred before in Earth's history, long before humans. For example, natural tectonic activity in the Mesozoic era resulted in 5 times more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere at the time than today.
But you're assuming that we didn't do the research. We know that the burning of fossil fuels released carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. We know that greenhouse gases absorb heat and trap them within the atmosphere. Isn't it then reasonable to say that the burning of fossil fuels would lead to global warming?
I'm still skeptical. Weren't there also scientists who openly debunked climate change?
Hey, you're the politics guy. Guess who funded those people's research?
Yeah, I know. Vested interests like oil companies who don't want these climate change people messing with their businesses.
Well, I remember reading an article about scientists who used to work for Exxon, the biggest oil company in the world. She exposed how externally, Exxon declared climate change wasn't real and funded anti-climate change groups. However, they've been conducting experiments since the 1970s and even predicted global warming. On the other hand, there has been no such event within the group of people confirming climate change. If climate change really is a scam, the people involved with it came forward long ago.
Okay, I'll assume for now that your points are valid. But why should we care about this?
Because this is a matter of mankind's survival on Earth?
That's what you people always say. See, guardians of the Earth, survival of the next generation, blah blah blah. You gotta be real with this. How many people will actually care about all your inspiring speeches? I guess what I'm trying to say is, why should people care about this now?
You see, the problem is that climate change is a problem of tomorrow. It's not like terrorism, which can happen anytime. It's not like an economic crisis where people feel the effects directly through financial difficulties. The impacts of climate change come slowly until it is too late, and it only occurs in particular parts of the world. Computer models have shown that the effects of climate change is overall more damaging for developing countries, partly due to geographical locations, and partly due to the main economic industry being agriculture, which suffers the most from natural disasters. So those in countries that actually have the power to put a stop to climate change do not feel the impact of climate change directly, and those who suffer the most do not have the power to do anything about it. Worse, reacting to climate change is expensive. It means giving up current ways of economic development, discarding cheap oil and using much more expensive renewables. It is why so many companies are trying so hard to discredit climate change. But guess what? We're going to run out of fossil fuels sooner or later, and by then, renewable energy may seem like the cheaper option. Either way, I believe there's every reason to invest in solutions that tackle climate change. I'm sure everyone has heard of those stories of climate change leading to natural disasters, lack of food, and diseases.
But again, there are people right now dying from the lack of water, lack of food, and suffering from sicknesses, disease, and war. Shouldn't we worry about these people first before we think about fixing climate change?
Of course, the social issues around the world are pressing and requires our attention, but that does not mean we can put climate change on hold. Climate change, at the end of the day, is also a social issue. It is about the lives of humans and environment. The welfare of humans in 2080 have equal footing compared to those suffering now in our decisions today.
Whoa, that's a strong stance to take. How can you ever expect people to care so much about the people they don't know? People that don't even exist yet?
I don't know. I guess it starts with talking about this and getting people to know that being an environmentalist isn't just about using energy-efficient light bulbs or planting trees. It's about envisioning a new way of living.
The word envisioning makes it seem so much grander than what we actually can do now. We aren't the big entrepreneurs. Whatever efforts we put in are likely to be negligible. And don't tell me that it's the small efforts that build up. I'm not buying that.
It's not that small efforts don't build up. We just need to look at them in the right way. For example, if we, consumers, start to prefer corporations that support environmental protection, wouldn't it make them more successful and encourage other corporations to do so as well? But it's not that simple, I know. This is a really complicated problem, but it's a really important one as well. I know that a large part of life's value comes from the things immediately around us, but we should at least spare a part of us to this issue, to learn about it and to discuss it, and hopefully contribute to solving it.
That still ended up sounding like a charity speech. But don't worry, I get your point. I'm not saying that I'm completely convinced by the climate change argument, but at least you got me thinking about it. That's your goal at the end of the day, right?